Now, the other thing that we can do is we can use this indirect function. So the reason that might be beneficial, if I were to just write in the name Alex, and I said, hey, I want you to give me the average of Alex, it's not going to work. You say, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense, because I know if I write in the word Alex, it's referencing this range that's named, and that will work. So it doesn't exactly work that way, but what we can do is we can use this indirect function. And indirect is basically saying, instead of using the text ALEX, I want you to point to some type of range that is named ALEX. So what I can do now is, instead, if I were to say average of indirect, this word, and close that off. Now that'll work. So now it knows that by using the indirect, that ALEX is referencing some range. So now if I were to just change that to Susan, I'll now get the average for Susan. Same thing for Sally, right? So there's another thing that we can do with the named ranges is I'm going to come across the top and I'm going to name these. I'm just going to call these salespeople, right? The named range, by the way, has to be one word. If you want to space it out with underscores, you can, but there can't be any spaces. And now what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to go to data, data validation, and I'm going to click on list, and then I'm going to type equal to, and then I'm going to write the name of that named range, sales people. Boom. And what that did is that gave me a drop-down box of everything that was in that named range. So now if I change this to Alex, you'll see that this changes. So the other thing I can do here is I can drag this down. Let me lock that in place by hitting F4. And so now there we go. And so now all I'm going to do here is I'm just going to change this to ST standard deviation. There, and hit enter. And I'm going to change that to min. And I'm going to change this one to max. And so now I get the average standard deviation, min and max values. I'll change that to money so it makes sense. There we go. And now if I just change this to Susan, we see the numbers change. And Sally, we see the numbers change, etc. So you can see some of the benefits for using named ranges. Now, one of the things that I'll often do is if I'm building some type of an application for somebody, and I know this is going to get really complicated, sometimes what I'll do is I'll take all of these named ranges, if there's like a lot of salespeople or there's a lot of product numbers, and I'll just make my own little tab here, a little worksheet that has, I've got a yes no box, got sales type. If we're selling, these are the products we're selling, and these are the names of the sales contacts. And what I'll go ahead and do is I'll just name each one of these here products, yes no. I think you understand what I'm doing here. I'll say sales type, etc. And I'll just do that out for each of these. And then what you can do is, if you want, you can just hide this sheet so that it's out of the way. And then if you're building out your functions anywhere else, or you have multiple worksheets or forms, all of those named ranges are available. For example, I could go into data validation, and instead of saying salespeople, I could say, I think it's yes, no. I think that's what I called it a second ago. And now that's just going to show me that yes or no box. And I think one of the other ones were sales types. So same thing, if I change that to sales type, then it should be like products and services and other. Yeah. So I think you get the idea. So that's another way you can use named ranges to make your worksheets and your dashboards a lot more accessible.